All right, joining me at this time is a country singer-songwriter who's got a brand new song called Kissing Through the Green Light, available on iTunes right now. Go purchase it. I'm here with Noah Smith. He's with me right now. What's going on, man?
Hey man, how we doing? I'm enjoying life there. It's a beautiful day in Ohio.
Awesome, man. And I definitely appreciate you taking the time to join me for this interview. I truly appreciate it. I truly appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Thank you very much for having me.
And congrats on the new song, Kissing Through the Green Light. It's available on iTunes right now. What was it like working on that song, and what's the song all about?
Yeah, man. I growing up out here, I live in a place called Brown County, Ohio. It's kind of a typical rural community, and when we were growing up, it was a little move that we'd pull with the girls, and not necessarily a move, but just a way to kind of make them feel like they're the most important girl in the world. And whenever you come up to the stoplight, literally when that light would turn red, you lean over and you'd start, trying to get yourself a kiss for the night. And when that light turns green, you just kiss them all the way through that green line. It doesn't matter how many cars get backed up or how many people are honking their horns. And we did that a couple times, and we sat around one night joking and laughing about it. And we turned it into that song. It's a good time, fun song. And honestly, man, sometimes we write forever on stuff, but this song was definitely a quick, just it felt good and felt right, and we decided, hey, let's release it. And people seem to be enjoying it everywhere, and it's a fun song. And I wrote it with my mandolin player, Michael Moeller. He's in my band and tours around with me, and actually it's kind of a cool thing because it kind of started the process of us all as a band versus just me writing all the music. We're definitely writing more music together and making a new record together right now.
That's awesome to hear, man. So this is going to be off a new record. Is it now your new record is going to be an EP, or is it going to be like a full-length album?
Yeah, actually, "Kissing to the Green Light" it's its own digital single that we released by itself, and then we're going to be releasing a whole brand new album, a whole new record of songs. We're about halfway through tracking everything and in the process, and guys were in last night banging it out, and hopefully this fall we'll have the whole record, and then maybe midsummer here sooner or later we'll have a new single, brand new single coming out off of that record.
Okay, that's cool. So basically, Kissing Through the Green Light's kind of like the appetizer, and then the full course meal is gonna come out a little bit later. So
Yeah, I like that. I never
yeah,
put it that way, but yeah, we
yes.
could.
So
I guess we'll just keep giving everybody appetizers.
yes. So I'm glad I can use that analogy. That's the thing with artists, man. Music artists are kind of like cooks. Like you gotta, and I get that there are times where, and I'm guilty of this. Like I hear one song and I love it and I want to hear more, but people have to realize like these artists gets in the studio. It's like you can't just make a song in a matter of moments. It takes time. It takes um, those long hours of putting a song together and being in the studio having take after take after take until the song
Yep,
is
yep.
right. So and but the song turned out very great, and man, I'm happy that you had me play that song on the radio, man. I definitely played it before you called, so
Yeah,
um,
thank you very much. My kids are actually tuned in, hanging out.
yeah,
Like I said, it's a beautiful day in Ohio. We've been around the campfire for about 2 days straight now. It seems like so. We've been enjoying the summer air, and that song is definitely a good time coming up for the summer. And yeah, I appreciate everything you're doing and playing the music, man. And more good things to come, I'm sure.
absolutely. The first time I've heard of you was through a friend of yours who invited you to perform in Lexington a few weeks ago. Goes by the name of Eric Bolander. He's become a great
Yeah,
friend of
yeah.
mine, and you also perform alongside with Maggie Lander, another well-known singer-songwriter out of Lexington. I was there that night, and it was a great show overall. And obviously, when you're an artist going to a different city to venues, it could definitely be challenging at times, like a whole different crowd, and you wonder how people are gonna vibe to your music. Like, how much of a challenge you think it is when you go to a complete different city to a different crowd and having to perform? Like, how big of a challenge you think it is going out there performing outside of Cincinnati?
Yeah, man. First off, that's awesome that you know Eric. And yeah, Eric's actually coming up to Cincinnati a couple times later, and we've been talking about doing some shows and things together. But I'm not gonna act like it never happens when we show up to a place and there's only 5 people in a room. But you know, I feel like it's always been my thing. And the artists that I grew up loving and seeing play live, it didn't really matter if there was 10 people in a room or there was 2,000 people in the room. They were doing their thing because they believed in what they were doing and the words they were singing. And so for me, it's always been about that. And I really think it's just been a test of time that over the years, the one variable that you can control is yourself and who you are. That's the only way you can learn. If you're just out there kind of throwing it or flying by the seat of your pants. But if you can kind of maintain who you are and keep the integrity of yourself, I feel like, you know, that's because you can control that, then you can learn, okay, this worked or this didn't work. But man, that's one great thing about my band and the guys that I have around me. I mean, we're definitely a growing family, and we tend to have a way to impact the room, whether there's 10 people there or there's 2,000 people there. You know, if it's a festival or something, I mean, just if you're doing what you love and doing what you believe in every night and trying to be your best and be the best at your craft, it's going to transcend a lot of the noise that happens, and I feel like that's really the only way to impact the room, whether it's big or small. But yeah, it is. I mean, it is challenging, but it's also, I think that's something about being crazy enough to want to be a live performer. You kind of enjoy that kind of scenario to get in there and battle it out and see how you can take control of a room, if you will.
What I like about artists like you that do come to a city like Lexington is that you are willing to branch out. You're willing to get the word out on your music other than, you know, Cincinnati and all. And I enjoy it. Like, I always like to hear different type of artists from all, not just in Lexington, but all over the world. Anyone who can find a way to come through, I'm definitely going to try to check you guys out, and I'm a vibe to it. And I definitely became a fan on that night when you was at Lexington, and it was great. You did a real good job with your set and everything, and I look forward to seeing you back in Lexington in the future for sure. Like, I know you got some shows coming up in Kentucky. I'd say next week in Newport.
Yeah, Newport, Kentucky at the Southgate House Revival.
Yeah. So if I don't make it to that show, I'll definitely keep an eye on the nearby Lexington shows for sure.
Yeah, Lexington's been great, man. I mean, we've been kind of planting seeds down there, if you will, over the last year or so, and I'm definitely in some talks and conversations with different venues and artists. We're going to be definitely coming back through there a couple times each year. It seems like the music community down there is very welcoming and eager to work with people out of town, and you know that affords us the possibility to come down and share our songs. And it is hard to come into some cities and be out of town and you know, not necessarily bringing a ton of people the first time you're in, but if you grind and kind of working on the road and come back every, you know, once a quarter, every 3 months, Lexington's definitely one of those cities for us that we're looking forward to playing to again. And yeah, I mean, that night was awesome, and I appreciate you being there.
Absolutely, man. It has been a very rough year for music because a lot of legends passed away this year, like David Bowie, Merle Haggard, and just a few days ago, Prince passed away, and that hurt a lot of people. Like,
yeah,
what that guy has meant to the music community, his contributions, the hit records, Purple Rain, which people is critically acclaimed one of the greatest albums ever recorded. And
yeah.
I was talking about the list of songs he did, kind of like Kiss, Let's Go Crazy, 1999, Purple Rain, When Doves Cry. I mean, he had it all, and he had one of the most memorable Super Bowl halftime performance of all time. I
For
say
sure.
my top two favorites were Bruno Mars and Prince.
Yeah.
Those were my favorites. So, and you had a post about Prince on your Facebook fan
Yeah, man.
page, and
Yeah.
Talk about your thoughts on Prince's legacy.
Yeah, man, I actually just got done reading an article about a half an hour ago, so talking about how he transcended genres more than any other recording artist of his generation, which you could possibly say of all time, to the point of whether it's the respect from a country artist to a hip hop artist to a rock and roll artist to a R&B to soul, that somebody that affected that large of an array. I mean, you look at somebody like Merle Haggard, he's obviously a legend in country music, and any hardcore country music fans out there, I'm sorry for saying this, but he might necessarily not impacted somebody that as a child that grew up listening to hip hop, but that person could have been influenced by Merle Haggard, but definitely by Prince. And I was reading that, and they were basically sharing about how he transcended that. I'm always digging into interviews and blogs and things, and a few years back I saw an interview, and there was a blog talking about Prince and his rehearsal schedule. And there's a lot of people in this world that and really in anything, it's not just music, but they say they want to do something. I want to do music. But to say you want to do music and to actually do it at a level that you really want to, or you achieve to, or you might set your goal on something, but to actually realize the work it takes to get there. Prince is definitely one of those people that set the benchmark and set what you need to actually do to details to get there versus just say, I'm going to be a rock star someday. It's not about being a rock star. It's about writing good songs. It's about putting all the pieces together to put on a live performance and to continually do that. I mean, obviously Prince was an incredibly talented human being and a special person to a lot of people in the world. So I appreciate that you checked that out and dug into that because, sometimes when things like that happen, or something, I try not to be too vocal on a lot of different things, and but to be able to share that, it's cool, and I definitely feel like my team and my band and the guys around me that I'm blessed to live this life with they're hardworking individuals, and if you surround yourself with the right crew, it's going to happen, it's going to work, and even if it falls short of what you might have at the end of the day, if you can say, hey, we showed up to bring it to the table, and we showed up to work hard for ourselves and our families, and then it's something that at the end of the life, it's worth talking about. And Prince was definitely a man that lived that path.
Rest in peace to Prince. Rest in peace to all the artists that we've lost this year. It's just been so devastating. It's like how much of these great musicians can we lose in almost four months in 2016? It's definitely devastating, to say the least.
But I find it interesting. We actually were having this conversation, me and my wife, not too long ago, that not necessarily musicians, but the people in our lives, at the age that we are and the age that they are, that there's going to be a period in our life where we're going to lose a lot of people. And fortunately, the way that the history of music and popular music as we know it, that generation is becoming of that age. And it is pretty incredible to be able to, sit back and maybe this lifespan and the next generation kind of move is going to inspire a whole new world of musicians and songwriters that maybe not necessarily even knew who these people were, but they'll get inspired, and maybe the next 80 years there'll be another Prince rise up, from that. So I think it's a really cool thing. I mean, the reality of it, it's life, and that's how it is, and the circle continues, and the thing keeps growing. So very cool.
And more importantly, his music will live forever.
Yeah.
And there are few kings and queens and princesses, but there will never be another Prince. And I read that from Pharrell, one of my favorite producers of all time, and that's great. Usually people think Prince, the Prince name is like on the way up to being a king, but the dude was a king and he wasn't even called a king. So his music speaks for himself. So now, as far as who do you consider like musical influences in your career?
Yeah, man. to be honest with you, that's always a fun question to talk about because I really grew up into everything. I mean, I grew up, late 90s, 2000 when, was really when music impacted my life. And, my mom always listened to Paul Simon records and to even say records, she was listening to Paul Simon cassettes. And that's what we, as a songwriter, I really looked into lyrical content that Paul Simon, that I was impacted with. The Eagles were a big part of that growing up and their songwriting, to James Taylor. And then she always had some, my family always had country music. We were kind of ingrained in that. Fell in love with Alan Jackson as a very simple storyteller, performer. And then obviously, anybody that grew up in that era couldn't get away from Garth Brooks at the time. But then also, on the other side of that, I grew up playing punk rock with my bands in high school, and there's always these really noisy, trashy rock and roll bands and slashing around. And I remember when we started our first band, I looked around and said, let's sing something that people can understand. Because that's the music that I fell in love with, was the lyrics and the story behind it. And that started the first band that I ever led, and I did that through college. And then my songwriting developed into pretty much what it is today. Just a natural progression of meeting people and moving and relationships and networking and friendships that developed. My songwriting developed as well. So, yeah, man, I mean, when we're riding in the van, we're listening to bands like Brand New and Taking Back Sunday and, across to Hank Free and all kinds of, all the Jason Isbell, records that he's put out. And the other fans, the guys in my bands are. And so, yeah, I mean, I listen to all kinds of stuff. I love it all. I listen to, the coffee shop playlist on Spotify when I'm waking up on Saturday morning, and then sometimes we listen to heavy metal. So it's I love songwriting. Anything with a melody can pretty much get my attention long enough to enjoy it. So.
And before I let you go, why don't you go ahead and let people know how can they learn more from your music, how can they listen to your music, and how can people check you out through social media?
Yeah, man, for sure. So my website is noahsmithmusic.com. All of my social media is at Noah Smith Music, Facebook.com/NoahSmithMusic. My Twitter is at Noah Smith Music. I want people to, say, hey, if you're going to interview, if you want to learn more, something we do when we're not full band touring around, we tour around and do house shows. Us on our guitar and someone's living room sharing songs and stories. So, and we're looking to book up those for the summer. So definitely check it out, Noah Smith Music, and you can pretty much find all my tour dates and everything that's coming up this summer. We got a couple big festivals that we're going to be on, and like I said, the new record that's coming out. Jump on my mailing list as well, and we'll let you know what's going on. A lot of good things going. We got a good group of people. We call it the Big Old Family, and that's pretty much what it is. We live our lives and together, and we get to play music, and it's a beautiful thing for sure.
So while people anxiously awaits for the release on the new record, for the time being, you can support this man by purchasing that song, "Kissing Through the Green Light," available on iTunes. Go check it out. And thank you for your time, Noah. Continued success. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the future.